Spurge here, and in this video we are going to break down the new Alpinestars Tech-Air Off-Road airbag system. So this is the newest in the line of airbag technology from Alpinestars. This has been in the works for about 7 years now. It has been deployed at Dakar with professional racers for the last 4 to 5 years, and we are finally seeing it trickle down to a consumer version that anyone out there riding off-road can buy. Mr. McHugh on my left-hand side actually just came back from the off-road launch for the Tech-Air out in Las Vegas, Nevada, where he got a chance to ride it on smaller dual sport bikes as well as larger adventure rides. And you're going to see him wearing this currently in an extra large. So we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty on this. Sit back, relax, get yourself a drink and a bowl of popcorn because there is definitely a lot of information to share here. This is something that a lot of people have been waiting for a long time, for an airbag system that is really fine-tuned, designed to be used off-road. But let's start with sizing. So Mr. McHugh on my left-hand side stands at 6'3", weighs in around 200 pounds. He's still 200 pounds, give or take?
220.
220, wow. And he has a 44-inch chest measurement. So really what we know here is that this correlates perfectly with Alpinestars' size chart. He is an extra large in this, and it fits him spot on. For myself, I have a 44-inch chest as well. I'm a bit taller than Pat, about the same weight. I'm around 6'3", and the XL fits me, and this is exactly what I wear in Alpinestars armor rigs. So I am someone that has used Alpinestars armor rigs for a long time. No surprises from the sizing on this. Now, what you'll notice with this that's different than something like the Tech-Air 5. The Tech-Air 5 would be more of a short sleeve version, and you're not getting that off-road kind of an armor built into, especially around the elbows with this, that you're getting with this that you wouldn't get with the Tech 5. So let's just kind of talk about those two differences for a second, because the Tech-Air 5 is something that's extremely popular, comes in around the $790 mark. So the biggest difference is because we know that when you're riding off-road, there are going to be low-speed tip-overs and crashes that happen. And in those low-speed situations, you don't always want the airbag to deploy. So when you're looking at the Tech-Air Off-Road, essentially what you're getting is a full passive armor rig from Alpinestars with the airbag technology built in. So CE Level 2 chest protector, CE Level 1 armor at the elbows and the shoulders on this, and a CE Level 1 back protector, passive. Now, once that airbag goes off, that's where your CE Level 2 protection comes in for your back and for your shoulders. The airbag will work itself from the back up and over the collarbone into the chest and then down the sleeves. Now, the one note here is that this is not designed to be used with a neck brace. The way that the airbag deploys is designed to stabilize the helmet in the event of a crash. So you're not going to want to use this with your current neck brace setup if you are someone that rides with a neck brace. So if you are mainly an on-road rider, maybe you're hitting an occasional fire road and you already have a Tech-Air 5, you're probably going to want to just stick with that setup. You don't necessarily need to look at moving over to something like the Tech-Air Off-Road. If you don't have an airbag system already, what I like about the Tech-Air Off-Road is that you can still set this in street mode. And so if you're using this under, an armored shell or an abrasion-resistant shell, you can go out and you can ride in the street and you can set this to street mode for your street riding. So really a lot of dual functionality in here for you adventure riders especially. Now, even as you're looking at the pockets for the armor, the pockets do have almost like an aramid blend to them, so there is a bit of abrasion resistance. But what I like about the pockets are the armor is easy to remove. So if you're wearing this under a jacket that already has armor built in, again, looking at you adventure riders out there, you can pull this armor out, wear this rig underneath your existing jacket. The real way to describe this, because we get a lot of questions on how tight should my jacket be. If you're wearing a jacket that's already extremely tight and svelte and the airbag goes off, that airbag needs someplace to go, and it's going to push in and squeeze you like a sausage in a casing that's too tight. So really what we recommend when you're sizing this underneath a jacket is make sure that you have a little bit of room so that the airbag has a place to deploy. Now, obviously, Alpinestars has a full range of jackets that are airbag compatible, but the beauty of this system is you can wear it with other jackets as well. If you have some jackets in your gear closet already, you don't need to go out and buy a whole new arsenal of gear. Just make sure you have enough room to move around. So that's the general gist of the shell and the jacket that is a regular Alpinestars armored off-road riding rig. some critiques before we get into the airbag. I've used a lot of Alpinestars rigs. I currently have the old Bionic as my main go-to. I like it because it has a strap to keep the elbow armor in place. This doesn't, and I would love to see them just bring back that little forearm strap just to hold the armor in place. The reason I moved away from my Liat rig, which I had used for years, is because I kept crashing and my elbows kept pushing up from an armor standpoint. So I like the fact that, and the reason I moved to Alpinestars was they had this little strap here. Future iterations, I would love to see that strap added as a rolling change just to help hold the elbow armor in place. And keep in mind, the airbag doesn't go down that far. So really, it's one of the first places of impact for those of us that tend to crash a lot off-road. And if the airbag's not going off, that's gonna be, exactly what's gonna take the brunt of it. So that's my nitpick there. I do like the fact, one of the issues that I've had with some of the complete chest rigs from Alpinestars in the past is that it pushes up into my neck, into my Adam's apple. This does not do that. You can see the neoprene here at the top of the actual armor, much more comfortable. Even if you're down in that aggressive off-road riding stance, it's not gonna dig into your neck the way that some of the other Alpinestars chest protectors have done in the past. So that's pretty much the main core functionality here. To get in and out, you'll notice that you have the little straps that come through here. There is no kidney belt with this, the way you've seen with some other Alpinestars jackets for off-road. And from an activation standpoint, it activates itself once you zip up. Okay, so we talked about activation, so now we're gonna move into the airbag technology. The number one thing that sets this apart from other airbags that we have seen from Alpinestars or other manufacturers in the past is that the canisters are replaceable. McHugh, go ahead and face backwards for me. Now we're gonna get a B-roll shot of this, but there are 2 canisters in here. And you get 2 deployments. So if you're out on a large adventure ride and you have a gnarly crash and it goes off and it keeps you safe, you still have one other deployment. You also can carry spare canisters with you. The canisters are sold in a pair. It's about $170 for a pair of canisters. You can replace them yourself. So you don't have to send it back in after every deployment. This is going to be a big difference even compared to other Alpinestars airbag rigs. And this is something that I really hope that we see Alpinestars carry through, because it's one of the biggest concerns we hear from customers. I'm out at a track day, it goes off, it keeps me safe, but now I can't go out for another session on the track. I've used up my deployment, so either you go back out without the airbag protection or you have to, just kind of call it quits. So the fact that there's 2 canisters, 2 deployments, and you can change the canisters yourself, huge step forward in the technology that we're seeing from Alpinestars. The other note here is that they do recommend that the airbag is replaced after the 4th deployment. So you get 4 deployments before you have to have the airbag replaced by Alpinestars recommendations. You would send it back into Alpinestars, and it's going to cost you roughly around $300 to have that replaced. So that is going to be the biggest change that we've really seen from Alpinestars so far, because it really takes a lot of that questioning that we've gotten from customers and gives you an answer and a solution. There's also a switch under here, so you can turn the unit on or off. Once you turn the unit off, you can travel with it, you can fly with it. McHugh brought this back from Las Vegas. You do have to check it. Do not try to carry it on. That's another big question we got was, can you travel with this? If you're going to do a destination ride, you can. Just make sure it goes into your checked luggage. You'll also notice here at the back, there is a hydration pouch. You can fit a 3-liter hydration bladder in this, and then there's hydration pass-throughs up on each shoulder. And then this little strap here is to hold your hydration pack, where this is designed to hold the rig when you set it into the closet. So the brains are all underneath this. Now, my first question when Pat brought this back, is Pat brought it back, he's like, hey man, I got it in your size, you can go ride in it. I was like, well, you've just been sweating in the desert for the last 48 hours. How do I wash this? So you can remove the brains and you can wash it the same way you wash your regular Alpinestars rigs or any of your other regular rigs. So it is completely machine washable. You just have to remove the brains from this first, throw it in the washing machine, because if you're like myself and you're out after a few days of riding off-road, your gear starts to have a bit of a scent to it, and it's not always a pleasant one. So you can wash this the way that you wash your other stuff. As far as the technology that we're seeing here, this is going to be very similar to what we've seen from other technology within Alpinestars airbag systems. One accelerometer, one gyroscope, each one is on a 3-axis design, 40 to 60 millisecond deployment. So before you can blink your eyes, this is going to deploy. We will show that.
In 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
McHugh, go ahead and face forward for me. Just raise your hands in the air for a second. So one of the things to note here, he is wearing a base layer, so you're not going to see his gnarly armpits, but there are cutouts underneath the arm to help with airflow, to help with passive airflow through this. You can go ahead and put your hand down. For those of you that are concerned, it does feel a bit heavier than your traditional armor rig, but when you're out there riding around in it, the weight wears itself well, and it doesn't feel overly cumbersome. It does flow more air than you're probably expecting. Now, the canister change, that's one thing. The other piece that we're going to talk about here is up until this point with Alpinestars airbag technology, the two main modes we've seen is a road mode and a track mode. And we're going to see something similar here, but now you're going to get a road mode, and then you're going to get two different types of off-road modes. Now, if you're looking over on Mr. McHugh's left-hand side, this is your main controller. There's two different plugins for USB-C. You can plug in and charge here, or you can plug in and charge in the back. And then this is also how you're going to set your different modes. There's a button, you hold it down, and apparently as Pat was counting his 1 Mississippi's earlier, you hold it down for a Mississippi and it'll vibrate and it'll move to the next mode. So Pat just took it from enduro mode into rally mode. So there's street mode, there is enduro mode, and there is rally mode. Now when talking to Alpinestars, they were a bit hesitant to give very detailed specifics as to exactly how the timing would work depending on the crash, because it all is very dependent on the crash. But the main thing to note here is that if you are riding on the street or you're just blasting down an open fire road, you should probably just leave it in street mode. If you are someone that is riding more aggressively, but you're in tighter situations, so maybe you're not going crazy high speeds, you're riding some single track through the woods, some sections get a little bit faster, that's when you would bump it over to enduro mode. And then there is wide open rally mode. This is exactly what the Dakar users are riding this in, and this is wide open, high speed, off-road use. And the idea here is that if you're having a small little tip over, you don't want the bag to necessarily deploy. So for most people out there riding, kind of keeping it in enduro mode for off-road use is probably going to be the place to go. If you are truly a beginner and maybe you're just tackling a fire road and a big adventure bike the same way you would on the street, then that's where the street mode might be your compromise. So rally mode is really reserved for high speed off-road racing. And again, the biggest functionality that we're seeing here is that if you're just tiptoeing around in the woods, getting your feet wet, and you just tend to fall over a lot, you don't want to have a tethered system. I've seen a lot of people, when the technology was first coming out with the tethered systems from Helite, showing up at adventure rides, they'd have their harness tethered on, and then they'd tip, and then they'd roll off the bike, and the airbag would go off. And they're not really looking for that. So Alpinestars has done a good job. Even as Pat was at the launch, he was telling me, people would be going through a corner, and they'd tip over, and they'd fall, and it wouldn't deploy. That's what your passive armor is for, right? That's what that's there for. So the deployment really is, as speeds start to pick up, those gyroscopes, those algorithms start working, it deploys when it knows that you need it. And again, this is very new technology. There's a lot of people out there that look at one system and prefer one than the other. But when we're really thinking about off-road, the tethered systems really just haven't made sense. So Alpinestars is coming to market with a device that really is aimed at trying to work in all that different kind of riding style that you might face. And that's where the 3 different modes are coming into play. So from a charging standpoint, you do need to make sure that it is turned on when you are charging it. And then when you are not using it, you need to make sure it is turned off. So on for charging, when it's done charging, turn it off, let it store. When you are transporting it back and forth to your ride area, you want to make sure it's turned off. When you get to where you're at, you turn it on, you put the jacket on like you would, you fasten it down, and you zip up And when you zip up, there is a magnet at the top here. When that connects, when the zipper's up all the way, you'll feel the unit vibrate. You look down, and there is a blue light that turns on. Alpinestars switched to a blue light because they had one of the designers that was actually colorblind, and green was hard to see. So they switched to a blue LED for the main function. This is how you know that it's on. There is still a green light right here, but that's a little bit easier to see. You can tell if it's only on one, you can kind of see the tone there. You don't need to see whether or not it's on in the mainstay. So one button there to switch through and toggle, and then your 3 modes are right there, but with the big blue LED to let you know that it is armed and it is ready to go. If you are stationary, if you're sitting still having lunch, you're on the side of the trail, you're having some conversation, after about 20 to 25 minutes, it will turn itself off. It will go into standby mode. So if you look down before you go out and ride again, make sure that blue LED is on. So if you come to a prolonged stop, you don't need to take it off and turn the switch off in the back. It will go into standby mode. Now the one note here is that you need to reactivate it, which means you have to zip it down, open it up from the magnet, and then reconnect it to reactivate it. So if you do have a prolonged stop, just make sure you look down and check that that blue LED is on before you start riding again. All things considered, again, I think as I'm playing around with this, as Pat is coming back, my biggest nitpick is really around just the passive strap for the forearm. You know, I've got a lot of experience with Alpinestars armor rigs. I would like to see that reiterated in a newer version. Other than that, this is really interesting technology that Alpinestars is bringing to the world of off-road safety. Like we said earlier, this is a requirement for FIM racing at this point in time. You're seeing all of the folks out at Dakar wearing this. And there's a lot of different ways you can use it. You can use it as a traditional Under Armour rig, under a jersey or a shell, leaving that armor in there. You can take the armor out. You can wear it under your favorite ADV jacket with the passive armor coming in your favorite ADV jacket. And again, from a sizing perspective, no issues as long as you're using the sizing chart for the garment itself. Just really think about how tight the jacket is that you are wearing over top of it. Now, there's a lot of questions that I'm sure that you have on this. Make sure to drop a question below. If you have it, we're going to monitor the comment section. We'll try to get you as quickly as we can responded to. But if you want to hear what other riders have to say, people that are also out there putting this through its paces, you can always click the info button on your desktop or mobile device, and you can read other rider reviews from folks that are out there using a Tech-Air Off-Road system on their motorcycles. Or if you're not sure which airbag system is right for you, you want to get into using an airbag, you can always reach out to one of our customer service reps and they can walk you through all the different versions available. We know it can be confusing. We are here to help. Thank you for joining us for this first look at the Alpinestars Tech-Air Off-Road airbag system after 7 years in the making. I'm Spurge. This is Pat. Enjoy the ride.